I tell you what, let's start with a not-so-friendly reminder that at any point during this edition of Cardinals Underground, a flag can and will be thrown for an improper conversation. Now, what you saw on Monday Night Football is Javon Kinlaw. He got an unsportsmanlike conduct for an improper conversation with an official, which is an all-time flag. And yet another reason why we have dubbed henceforth and heretofore Week 6 in the NFL will be known going forward as the week of the flag, Cardinals included. But once again, improper conversation is grounds for a penalty in the NFL. So if at any point, Dani, you want to disagree with anything I have to say, or Darren, you prove any of my theories or hot takes, that's foreshadowing, by the way, incorrect, it'll result in an immediate penalty flag and or expulsion from this edition of Cardinals Underground.
Isn't that just a euphemism for that you dropped an F-bomb to the ref?
That's a great question. I don't know. Yeah, it's one of the 4 or 5 magic words you said to the ref, and they call it an improper conversation.
I want to pull that on one of my kids.
I mean, Dani, on a daily basis, how many times would you say you've had an improper conversation? You know, off the record, off the mic. Come on now. You tell it like it is.
And how many of those have landed you in HR's offices?
Oh, wow.
0.
Let me see if I can hack into her employee file here in a minute, and we'll take a quick look.
You should listen to what Darren says in the room.
Hey.
Wow. Okay. All right. Save it for the group session after this edition of Cardinals. Maybe we'll have a breakout session. It'll be Cardinals Underground Extra, and it'll be behind a paywall for adults only, and then Darren can really shine. That's what we'll do. Okay.
Can we cut that for out of context purposes?
Oh boy. All right. Look, you want to start with what was, what is on Monday Night Football, or what is happening in real time? Like we have roster moves.
Yeah, we do.
So Darren, take it away.
Literally, as we were preparing to record here, Bilal Nichols, defensive lineman, on IR. Matt Prater, kicker, on IR.
Come on.
I mean, technically they can come back. Adam Schefter's already reported that Nichols is probably out for the season.
Oh.
I don't know about Matt Prater, but we'll see what happens when you start talking about a knee and a 40-year-old. You never know what that combination is, especially with a kicker.
Wasn't the stat on Bilal Nichols and Justin Jones upon signing on the line that is dotted, their durability
and Jonah Williams
and availability?
Yeah,
right. I mean, they had an almost stellar, perfect track record, at least the last 3 years, of playing every single game. So what is going on with the football gods? Can we blame that on Darren? Did Darren irritate the football gods?
Don't blame anything on Darren.
In that injury department?
I do get blamed for almost everything, especially from Dani.
So now if it's true that Nichols is out for the year, but Prater could possibly come back, that's not until after the bye week, because it's a minimum of 4 weeks on IR. That 5th week is the bye week, and then that first game back after is in Seattle.
You know, to make you feel a little bit better, I'm just going to take a look at the upcoming opponent. Okay, just put this in perspective and just show you how widespread this injury epidemic is across the NFL. Look at the Chargers right now. They just signed moments ago Eli Apple.
Eli Apple.
Former top 10 pick. He's got like 8 or 9 years in the league.
An Apple Charger? Oh, I could hear a laugh through that door, that soundproof window.
Don't reward that.
Do I have to say it again, Cody?
You're just jealous. You're just jealous you didn't think of that first, Paul.
So they placed starting corner Asante Samuel Jr. on injured reserve last Saturday. The other starter, Christian Fulton, strained a hamstring during the win against Denver. The backup was inactive for the 2nd straight game due to a leg injury. The other backup, who was mostly used on special teams as the 4th corner, also suffered a hamstring injury at Denver. They ended up going with 2 5th-round rookies most of the game at corner, seeing their first NFL action against the Broncos.
So you're bullish about the Cardinals breaking out passing-wise.
Darren, you read my mind. I must have telegraphed that one because
we haven't talked about Marvin Harrison maybe not playing.
If you're looking for a breakout game for the Cardinals passing game, and dare I say that is the key to this Cardinals offense, can you get the passing game in gear? Can you specifically get the passing game to wide receivers in gear, in sync, get it productive? Your top 3 receivers at Green Bay, a tight end, and 2 running backs. You had 5 catches by receivers on a dozen targets. We're just going to get extremely real right out of the gate here. Just get right into it. Okay, if you can improve the production by the receivers in particular with Kyler Murray, I think that is the key to the offense the rest of the season.
Absolutely. This Chargers defense has enough holes for the Cardinals offense to take advantage of. They just have to get out of their own way. Through 6 weeks, we are still seeing clear miscommunication between quarterback Kyler Murray and his receivers. There was a delay of game penalty in Green Bay. There have been multiple instances where throughout these first 6 weeks, players are not lining up correctly and your quarterback is having to yell at them before taking the snap. You're too far into the season for that. Maybe a little more slack with a rookie receiver and Harrison and getting adjusted, not the other receivers who spent their entire offseason training with their quarterback. You need more out of your receivers. It's really that simple.
And look, Zay Jones theoretically is going to be available this week and is a 9-year vet. He's plug and play, at least according to the coaches. Xavier Weaver, there he was, getting 40-plus snaps because of the injury, the concussion protocol to Marvin Harrison Jr. in Green Bay. So, like any other position group on this team, if you're not getting it done, they'll find someone who will. And they'll keep going through different receivers, I think, until they can find a group that starts connecting on a regular basis with Kyler Murray. And you got to have better than a 50% success rate, target to catches.
Well, I don't disagree with that, but I also think that I don't think it's as simple. I mean, Xavier Weaver was out there because Marvin Harrison Jr. got hurt. He wasn't going to play that much, and he only got targeted once. He was open, and then Kyler threw it a little long, and it just wasn't going to work. You know, I loved the idea of Trey McBride being a little bit more involved because I think he's one of your best weapons.
Yep.
And we've seen...
And he works in the middle of the field so well.
But, you know, for me right now, to be honest, I want to know what happens with Marvin Harrison Jr. Do we see him miss a game? Is he going to be able to come back this week? If he can come back this week, does it look much different than it has been, or what's going to happen there? Because to me, he's always going to be the fulcrum of this passing game because that's why you drafted him.
All right, so if someone showed up and said, okay, this is my first Cardinals game that I've seen all year. They show up for Monday Night Football, right? What would you tell them about Marvin Harrison Jr. and this season he's had so far? How would you describe it?
Flashes of how good he is with those contested catches. And even if it's being thrown in a very tight window, you know that he's going to be able to go up and make the effort and very likely come down with that catch. There have been some really impressive moments for some deep balls, some touchdowns with his quarterback. You're not getting enough, though. And I'm not putting that all on Harrison. It's a lot in the first quarter, and then there was a drop-off every single week. It hasn't consistently been going to your best receiver, especially in those big-time moments. You are seeing good things from him. He's definitely had a good start when you're looking at the stats as a whole, but when you're going through and you're looking at the games, it's just not enough. And I think that you can find ways to get him a little more active and a little more involved throughout different parts of the offense and not just using him out wide for those deep throws.
Would you add anything to that, Darren? I'm a brand new Cardinals fan. I'm showing up to Monday Night Football. Geez, I see here on this paper that Marvin Harrison Jr., the number 4 pick overall, he's got 6 games under his belt. What have we seen so far? What do I need to know here before game number 7?
I think the expectations were really, really high on Marvin Harrison Jr., and it was going to be difficult. You know, I remember on these very fine airwaves talking before the season, and I made a mention a couple times. I wasn't even 100% sure he was going to get 1,000 yards, but that doesn't mean he couldn't make an impact. And you start wondering now, I was thinking more in terms of he was going to get so much attention that it was going to let other people flourish. And I just think that
hasn't that happened to a certain degree, though.
Oh no, I
he is getting extra attention on a regular basis,
he is getting
right?
Extra attention, but there's other stuff. I mean, I still think even though every time we talk to Marvin, he's made mention that he's getting more and more comfortable, and I do believe that to be the case. I do see some things we've talked about, you know, catching balls in traffic, maybe making sure he's catching it away from his body, maybe a little bit more. The play he got hurt on, it looked like he let the ball get in on him a little bit. Those kinds of things. And I'm really torn right now because I feel like there needs to be a little bit of leeway to let the guy learn the game. I mean, it's not like Larry Fitzgerald came in and had 1,500 yards as a rookie either. Now, I look back, his first 6 games were definitely more productive than Marvin Harrison's have been. Not by a ton. I don't even know if he had a 100-yard game at this point. But, he would have 4 or 5 catches. Again, I just think that what Marvin Harrison is going through is something the entire offense seems to be going through. And that is they just can't quite seem to find that rhythm when they go to the air.
2 things can be true. You are seeing good things from the rookie receiver, and you can see what the potential is and what this coaching staff and what this front office saw and liked from Harrison. And even though we were told by his teammates and coaches alike that he is not a rookie in terms of how he prepares and how humble he is and his mentality, he can still go out there and struggle with the same things a lot of rookie receivers do in terms of adjusting to the pace of the game and all the new play calls and going up against NFL level cornerbacks as opposed to those in college. And I don't think that should take away from the good things that Harrison has shown this year so far.
When you're buying a diamond, Darren, when you're buying the missus a diamond, right? And you're going to propose.
I haven't done that for a long, long, long time, Paul.
Is it the
you
four?
should.
Is it the 4 C's?
Thanks, Dani.
Is it the 4 C's? Is it like cut, clarity, composition? Help me out.
Copper?
What?
Citrus? Those are the 5
C's of buying a diamond.
I thought you were talking about the 5 C's of Arizona. Citrus, copper, cattle, climate.
It's an exclusive diamond you're
commerce,
buying.
I believe. That's what the 5 C's of Arizona are.
Darren, as if I need help getting derailed over here.
Sorry, my bad.
The 3 C's I'm going to attach to Marvin Harrison Jr. You ready for this?
I'm listening.
All right. Comfortable. Has to get comfortable.
Yeah.
2, confidence. I think there's still a ways to go. Confidence.
Yeah, I agree with that.
A couple other players have cited that. Some big moments he's had, and they cited it in terms of what it did for his confidence. It bolstered and boosted his confidence. And then the last C I'll throw in here, contested.
That's a good one.
The art of the contested catch. How often did he ever have a contested catch in college? I'm guessing not often. By design, I don't watch Ohio State football. Sorry, Paris Johnson Jr. I just don't, okay?
By design?
By design, okay? And Darren, you're a Michigan native. You don't tell me you watch, it's not appointment viewing for you either.
No.
Okay, there you go.
But you're not a Michigan.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I guess you are a Michigan native, but I thought you were just a Cal guy.
Anyway,
I didn't know you liked the Wolverines,
Yeah,
Paul.
I've given up college football after the latest fourth quarter blown lead, okay? So, although I am jumping the ASU bandwagon on the, by the way, my nickname for Cam Skattebo, Cam at vertical. Not cram at vertical, Cam at vertical. Hasn't really gotten traction online yet.
I'm sorry. How come I get in trouble for saying Apple Charger and he's allowed to say things like that?
Well, because he says things like that, number one. And number two, I want to know.
No, it's going to get a lot worse here in a minute, by the way, just to let you know.
You crossover ASU fans out there, how are we feeling about Paul leaking into ASU football with his nicknames and not just sticking to the Cardinals?
I'm not leaking. I'm jumping on the bandwagon like the rest of the Valley. All right. So the last one.
Some of us were always there, Paul.
Contested. That's where, to your point, Dani, the ball he lets come into his body. You just can't do that in the NFL.
There have been moments, the Rams game, that first touchdown at home at State Farm Stadium, that was a really nice catch by Harrison. He had a defender right on him. The defender's arm was in between Harrison's hands. That was still a contested catch. You're right. More times than not, though, when he has had a defender on him or he's been in movement, whatever it might be, it's been difficult for him to consistently pull in those targets. And that has been something that he's noted post-game is even after the games that Harrison has really stood out, he's noted, first thing, the incompletes that he's had.
Okay, so here's my question for Darren Urban exclusively.
Yes.
Someone who I believe saw every single game of Larry Fitzgerald's career.
Yes.
How much better did he get over the course of his career at attacking the football? Because when he was at his best, his career was at its zenith, there was no one better than Fitz going up and attacking the football. Did that get better over the course of his career?
I think everything for Fitz got better. I will say this. That was one of the things that Fitz was good at originally, I think. Now, he got better at it, But again, if you remember the
at Pitt, he was
the one trick pony was about going up and getting the ball when he first came in. It was catching in the yards after the catch that everybody complained about.
He was making the catch and going down.
Yeah,
and
he would go up and get it, and then he'd be satisfied with that. So I think I absolutely think though it's something that he can get better at. And I think he will get better at. And I love your 3 C's there, Paul. I don't give you a lot of props, but I'm going to do that right now. That is a quality little bit there with the 3 C's, and I think all 3 of those are super important when you talk about this.
Unfortunately, there could be a 4th concussion, but I'm not putting that in there. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, I mean, he's in the protocol as we do this.
Yeah. All we know is when in doubt, you're out. Today's NFL. When in doubt, you're out. They're not going to take any chance whatsoever. Now, maybe an extra day because of Monday Night Football. Maybe. Trey
McBride missed 1 game with a concussion. Malik Neighbors, the next receiver taken in the draft, he's already missed 2 games.
That's true.
And we'll see what happens this week.
Yeah. But again, I just don't remember Marvin Harrison Jr. and those who have watched a lot of Ohio State football having many contested catches. So I just think that's something.
I think it's fair.
As part of his learning curve, and it didn't help that certain people went on these sort of airwaves and started making comparisons way back after the draft to Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson and the rookie years being Pro Bowl campaigns and 1,400 yards receiving. I don't know who was so irresponsible as to evoke those comparisons right out of the gate.
On the confidence, San Francisco Cardinals go into the Bay and they get the win, and in large part for the big 4th down play to Harrison, where Murray had that confidence and he found Harrison. It was a short yardage and he found him for 16 yards, and the only other catch, even though Harrison only finished that game with 2 receptions, was another big play to move the chains.
You know what? 5th C. I'm sorry, you're going to now punch me in the face. Correctable. I'm going to throw a correctable in there. There's another one.
Are you just okay?
We're hoping by the end of the podcast there's like 27 C's.
What we're citing here, these are all things that are correctable. So it does make you bullish. Okay, on the Cardinals with a breakout game on offense, and maybe that game again is against this banged up Chargers secondary. The only counter argument to that is the Chargers just put together a 25 pressure performance against Bo Nix in Denver without Joey Bosa. Denver's O-line was something really banged up. 3 starters missing.
And it's Bo Nix.
So
I think Kyler Murray's on a level well beyond Bo Nix right now.
A little more equipped to handle the pressure.
That's my feeling.
A little bit. Okay, but what about the O-line? Because you know what we've been fond of saying over the years, if you show us an O-line that's struggling, we'll show you an offense that is struggling. So where are we on the Cardinals O-line?
I thought even with Jonah Williams obviously out and now Will Hernandez out, I thought the pass protection was okay. I mean, I think they wanted to run the ball a little bit better than they did. I didn't feel like Kyler Murray was under pressure all day.
There in the run game, there was just nowhere for James Conner to go. There were no holes, no gaps the way we've seen this offensive line create this season. I think there's a lot of trickle-down effect from not having right guard Will Hernandez out there. And that's not a knock on Tristan Colon for stepping in. I think something that really stood out in that Green Bay game when you are on the road in a hostile environment, it is raining, it is cold, and you are in a silent count, it's Hernandez that would tap the center, yell to Froholt, let the rest of the offensive line know Murray was ready to get the ball. I think that attributed to some of the pre-snap penalties and the miscommunication and something that you might not think about, not having your starting right guard in that situation. I think that played a role in that.
I mean, yeah, you're Kelvin Beachum, right? And you're out there and you have a different, right guard next to you. All of a sudden, it's not Will Hernandez, who's been a rock. And, be like if, we took Grialou and put him in here for Darren. All of a sudden, we'd have a bunch of false starts. We're not in sync. We're not used to that.
And then you have your left guard, Evan Brownlee, with an ankle injury, and you have to put in the rookie Isaiah Adams. There were already adjustments not having the starting right side of your offensive line going into that game, and then you have to make in-game adjustments on the left side.
Yeah. So once again, correctable, especially when 13 penalties. I don't know if we all angered the football gods. How many stories were written last week?
Let's blame Darren again.
Going into that week about
how I
don't
believe in football gods.
Everybody now, the Arizona Cardinals were the least penalized team in the NFL, 19 through 5 games, and then 13 in a single game. That's 13 accepted, 13 enforced. There were 16 that were actually whistled. So, yeah, based on what we heard from the coaches, their point has been made. Non-negotiable is what they call the pre-snap penalties. So you expect a much better response on Monday Night Football. But as for the offensive line and how they played and how the offense is going, we crunched a few numbers here, okay? You know how in Green Bay, you guys, did anybody else get sick, show of hands, of the roll out the barrel? You know, I mean, why are they playing a polka at Lambeau? Lambeau's great in so many ways, but roll out the barrel to start the fourth quarter.
Got to be honest, Paul, you're out on the sideline. I was not, so we didn't hear roll out the barrel in the press box.
It's muted.
Muted.
So I use that because...
Are you dry yet, Paul?
For the... Yeah, that was... it's been quite a year on the sideline so far, and I'm not saying anything. I'm not responding to that, football gods, because Miami, the last time we went to Miami, it was raining in sheets for the entirety of the game.
Yes.
So,
who knows? Maybe we could.
Yeah.
No,
I'm not provoking anyone or anything supernatural otherwise.
Are you going to dress correctly, though?
I call it the double barrel. Wait a minute, I screwed it up. I call it roll out the double barrel run game. That's my theory. Let's see if I can explain this real quick.
Probably not.
To date, the Cardinals need both Kyler and James Conner running the ball effectively to win the game. If one or the other, or both, does not have a good run game, the Cardinals don't win. You go to week 3, the loss against Detroit. James Conner held to 17 yards on 9 carries. Kyler had a pretty good running day, 5 for 46. Very next week against Washington, I know it was a lopsided loss, but James Conner had 18 for 104. It was Kyler who had 1 carry for 3 yards in the first drive. A lot was made about that. We know that. Very next week, they come out against the Niners. What happens? Kyler ran it, 50-yard touchdown run, 7 for 83. Conner had 19 for 86. Cardinals come back and they win. Now this last week, James Conner 7 for 24. Kyler 7 for 14. You lose by another lopsided margin. Based on the way this year has gone. Now, the one exception to the whole rule would be week 1. That's what we didn't cite, where Kyler ended up combined with over 100 yards rushing, but James Conner had 50 yards, and it was sort of in that gray area, but that was a one-score loss where he led 17-3. In other words, translation, defenses more than ever, especially at this point in the season with 6 games worth of game film, they are all hell-bent on stopping Kyler in the run game and Conner in the run game. And until you make them pay in other ways, now, Trey McBride was effective, 8 catches on 8 targets, but once again, it circles back to the receivers and making these defenses pay for loading the box and putting a spy on Kyler and Conner at different times.
I'd still like to see more Trey McBride. When his number's been called upon, he's been reliant, what we saw last year, and he's carried that over. It hasn't been any big-time moves. Sure, he's helped move the chains with his 8 receptions. He wasn't targeted till the end of the second quarter in Green Bay. And when you don't have receivers that are making those plays, not even just big plays, that are helping you move the chains, you got to go to the players that you know can reliably get you a couple yards, some dirty yards after contact, and that's McBride. I don't hate the fact. If it's true that you need to have James Conner and Kyler Murray on their A game, with the ball in their hand, running on the ground to be successful. I think that is a unique setup that this Cardinals offense has. This game, I mean, the fact that Kyler had 7 carries, typically that's a good number. That's a high number. But to only have 14 yards just tells you that there was nothing there for him to either continue or to throw on the run.
These defenses are rallying to Kyler. They're rallying to James Conner. Sort of like this woman in Washington State who got hounded by up to 100 raccoons. Is this correct, Darren?
I saw this.
So she had to call 911
So
because she got surrounded by 100 raccoons.
Well, do you know how she got surrounded?
Was she like dressed in peanut butter or something? Like what happened?
No, a long time ago, she fed one raccoon.
One raccoon, Paul.
And then her home became the safe haven and a reliable source of food.
Oh my goodness.
And more raccoons started showing up.
Wow.
See, this is where it's slippery slope. This is the definition of slippery slope, Paul.
So then it became like an Alfred Hitchcock movie.
Yeah.
Birds, except it was
and
raccoons.
let's face it, raccoons aren't known as like warm and fuzzy animals.
No, don't mess with a raccoon. We used to have one in our backyard when I was a kid, and we
Did
knew
you feed it?
When our cats would scream across the backyard running 4 140s, we knew there was a raccoon in the vicinity.
She said she would pull her car into the garage and they would be waiting for her.
That's spooky. That's just plain spooky.
I would never get out of my car. How do you get out of your car and run inside?
Okay, so lady, time to sell the house.
She did. She moved.
Okay, now, so here's my question. Do you have to...
Did you not read the whole article?
No,
Paul?
I didn't read it. Did you have to disclose it? Do you have when you sell that, do you have to disclose that?
Like the Scorpions now locally?
You better disclose
you have to
that.
disclose that?
Scorpions?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. When I bought my first couple of houses, you didn't have to. And when we bought our second house, it had scorpions. And my wife wanted to move right away. And I'm like, yeah, we just bought this house. We're not moving right away. But in between us buying that house and the house we're currently in, they changed the law here that said you have to say if you have scorpions or not.
Wow.
Which a lot of houses do because they're all built out in the desert as they build it out, and the scorpions don't go anywhere.
See, when Darren has this real estate portfolio of houses, right? But whenever he buys one of these houses, he checks because there is an actual map that you can consult online, and it will tell you the pockets in Phoenix
true.
Metro, which areas are more prone to scorpions
That is true.
or not. Dead serious. There are certain zip codes
Although
that are rife with scorpions.
I'm going to say the house we're in now has had them, not a lot, but inside, but enough that I don't love it. But I have taken saving my own money I do my own spray, my own bug spray every month, and
Does it work?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
We have much fewer scorpions than we used to.
Darren, how much do you charge for a monthly service? Can we get you over at Casa Calvisi? What's your rate?
I cannot stand when that time of month comes and I have to do it. And it only takes me like 20 minutes, and I dread it every single time, especially when it's 110 degrees.
You have to like go in the attic for that?
No. It's all
just
outside.
all outside.
It's all outside.
Ooh.
Put on my gloves, put on my mask, mix the chemicals, try not to die.
Okay. I'm going to ask this question. I don't expect a real, I don't expect an exact answer, which then means it's a good lead into Wise Guy here momentarily. But Darius Robinson, what do we know? What do we expect? And now with Bilal Nichols out on injured reserve, oh man, could they really use the cavalry? That could be Darius Robinson. We thought he was maybe tracking to play and then a setback or discomfort in practice. Okay.
I really should leave this to you, Dani, because it's Mizzou. But
So last week, Robinson's practice window was opened. He was on IR, still is on injured reserve with a calf injury. So when you open the window, the team has 21 days to either put them on the active roster, or if not, they have to go on IR for the rest of the season, cannot come off it. So Robinson had his first day of practice last Wednesday, the 20 minutes of open practice to the media. He was stretching. He was off to the side watching defensive line drills. We did not see him participate in anything. He was listed as limited on the injury report. The next day, he wasn't even practicing with the team. He was working out on the side. Not a good sign. We heard from the coaching staff that he was experiencing some discomfort coming back, and Robinson was not active, did not play in Green Bay. Things can change now that he has the extra week. So it's something you're going to have to keep your eye on, because you don't want to pressure a player, especially a rookie, to feel like they have to come back before they're ready. You want to be able to make sure they're comfortable. Robinson also hasn't played football in a while. So I could see it as, even if he has a full week of practice this week, he might not even be active or really have a large role Monday night against the Chargers because he hasn't been playing football. So it's going to be interesting to see the week of practice he has, having that extra day with the game being on Monday. Look, your defensive line is banged up. They are struggling against the run. You're going up against a Chargers team that is run first with a running back and J.K. Dobbins that will absolutely destroy you if he has the opportunity. You can really use the body in Robinson along with his skill set if he's ready to come back.
So there are 6 one-win teams in the NFL. The only winless entity in the NFL these days would be yours truly at Wise Guy Trivia.
It's time for The Wise Guy, the world's fastest-growing Cardinals quiz show. The stakes are low. The winner gets absolutely nothing. Here's your hostess with the mostest, Dani Sureck.
Darren,
yes,
reigning champion.
Yes.
Although let us not forget that Paul Calvisi found his way onto the board on his own for the first time last week.
Big time.
I'm I'm rooting for you, Paul. I love a good underdog story.
Paulie Pyrrhic victory is what that was.
I'll give him this. When he just introed into this, like he had my head spinning there because I already forgot that he was going into Wise Guy. I'm like, wait, who's winless? Wait, what did I miss? All right.
Don't say the word rain, by the way. Thank you. All right, here we go.
Darren?
Yes.
Defer or receive?
I will receive.
Okay, so remember, we changed it up last week, so there's 4 questions. You pick a number, and that will determine your question, so it's a little more random. Trying to help you out, Paul.
I'm feeling good already because he's smelling himself. He's not deferring. He's I'm going to take the ball, and really, okay, let's bring it. Let's go.
Pick a number.
Question 4, Dani.
This 3-time Pro Bowl player spent 1 year with the Chargers and 1 year with the Cardinals. His dad was a 3-time Pro Bowl player for the St. Louis Football Cardinals. Name this player.
Wow. I probably should know this, and I don't. 1 year with the Cardinals, 1 year with the Chargers, and then made the Pro Bowl?
His dad was a 3-time Pro Bowl player for the St. Louis Football Cardinals.
Eric Metcalf.
Correct. Nicely done.
I actually knew that one, and I didn't have a chance to answer.
You say that.
I believe I can see it in his eyes.
I don't want to name drop, but I've had dinner twice in the last 5 or 6 years with Eric Metcalf and Bernie Kosar.
Wait, what?
Mainly because I rode the coattails of Ron Wolfley,
okay.
their former teammate. We went out to dinner in Cleveland.
I
was a good spectator.
Pick a number 1 through 3, Paul.
All right. I'm going to go with 2. Obviously.
In the 1998 season finale,
I'm trying to see if I can actually look through that paper. I can actually... Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Wow, that look you just got.
In the 1998 season finale, the Cardinals beat the Chargers on a last-second field goal to clinch a playoff spot.
4 interceptions.
In the game, Chargers quarterback Craig Whelan threw 4 interceptions. Can you see through this paper? Who was the high-profile backup QB for the Chargers that day?
Oh, come on. Are you serious? The Chargers. Wait a minute. I got this one because I think they came to Flagstaff for a joint practice, and the QB, because it was media buzz, Doug Flutie.
Incorrect.
Come on.
Ryan Leaf.
Correct. Darren has stolen the point.
I thought for a minute there he was going to get a Kwame Lassiter question. And I was going to be like, come on.
I just got a Ryan Leaf question. Okay. All right.
Okay, Darren, 1 or 3.
Okay.
I'll take number 3, please.
Okay. If I had a chin strap, I'd buckle it up a little tighter. Here, I'm going to tighten down these headsets. Here we go.
In the 2014 season opener, the Cardinals beat the Chargers on Monday Night Football at State Farm Stadium. In that game, the Cardinals scored 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns to secure the 18-17 win. It was the first NFL touchdowns for rookie receiver John Brown and this former Stanford running back. Name him.
Oh my God, I could see his face.
I could see his face too.
Oh my God.
I know exactly where his locker was.
Me too.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
I am drawing a blank.
Oh yeah.
And I know the dude.
Oh my gosh.
Paul, you have the opportunity to steal.
Yeah. Isaiah Hazeltine.
No, I heard a laugh through the wall.
What is this?
Stephon Taylor.
Yes! Stephon Taylor. Golly.
Because he caught it, didn't he? Didn't he catch a pass? I think he caught a pass from Palmer. He didn't run it in.
So, Paul, you can't win because Darren stole, so he's got 2 points. But let's do this question anyway. You ready?
I see. Just playing out the string, eliminated from
Here we go.
any chance of winning. There we go. Playing out the string again.
After catching 16 touchdowns over 5 seasons with the Chargers, this player joined the Cardinals in 2002 and would score 6 touchdowns over 3 seasons in Arizona. Can you name him? My guess is no.
Okay, so 2002 was 1 year I was not here. In the last 3 decades, I was in Chicago. So that's just appreciate that. Pick out that one slightly. Let's see here. 2002 from the Chargers to, oh boy.
Yes.
Running back, you said?
I didn't say.
You didn't say. Okay, he just scored 3 touchdowns.
He scored six touchdowns over 3 seasons in Arizona.
3 seasons. I think it was Chuck Picorni.
Freddie Jones.
Tight end, Freddie Jones.
Chuck Picorni.
Do you guys want to do the tiebreaker just for fun since we don't play the Chargers often?
Sure.
I want to do it, so let's do it.
Danny wants to do it.
Here we go. Closest to the number wins.
Who do I have to pay to edit out this section of Cardinals Underground? No, I mean, just name your price at this point.
Here we go. Lock in, Paul.
Just put some color bars right in the middle.
Lock in, Paul.
Chargers legend LaDainian Tomlinson is second all-time behind fellow Hall of Fame running back Emmitt Smith for most career NFL rushing touchdowns. How many rushing touchdowns did Tomlinson have?
Do we write this down or just guess?
Sure, you can write it down. Do you have a pen this week, Paul?
Oh boy.
Yeah,
okay.
he does.
Yeah. Let's see here.
How many rushing
career rushing touchdowns?
Yes, career rushing touchdowns.
Okay. Well, obviously the number is this right here. Okay. I got this one. I got. I have.
Darren has shown me his answer.
Here. Okay. Okay. That's
Paul, why don't you read yours first?
That's an egregious number. I don't know how I came up with that number. Maybe I should divide that in half. Let's see if we have.
Paul, the time is up.
Okay, I'm going to go with. I'm going to divide that in half, and I have 97. 97.
I had 98.
The correct
Really?
answer is 145.
Oh boy, way off.
So Darren
Wow.
would have won. Congratulations, Darren. You
Wait, what was your
remain
original-
undefeated.
I originally wrote down 184. I'm like, that's ridiculous.
It would have been close
Would've been closer.
Yeah, but I wasn't going to do that math in my head to see who was closer.
because of no math.
Correct. So Darren, you remain undefeated.
Okay.
Paul,
So,
what do we got to do to get you more involved?
what's the website to go to where I can take a mental health day? Which website is that? Can I just go ahead and check in? I'm just going to take a mental health work
If
from
you'd
home
like
day.
to talk to Emma Kramer, she's the
Effective
queen
immediately.
of the mental health day.
Paul, here's the thing: is you know who the next opponent
my
is, so you
goodness.
should really
Right.
start studying up.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I have just this inordinate amount of
Have you-
time
have
to go
you- have
study
you-
up on
Have
Chargers
you been to,
history.
if you
Well,
go
you're not
to,
watching TV.
if you go to Emma's desk, she's got affirmations in a bowl. You can just grab one and
Make
feel
me
better
feel
by
better.
yourself.
I see. What you get that was out of like fortune cookies? Like what do you mean affirmations?
Wow,
Okay,
I
all
think
right.
This is
All right.
serious stuff. Paul.
Okay, so I'm going to hit zoom out here for the big pick on the big red. Okay, I did my own little math over here, Dani. I resent the implication that I really have so much time to kill when I'm over here and I'm doing research. Did you guys realize?
The number of times we've heard laughter through the window today is at an all-time high.
Are you saying my credibility's at an all-time low?
It was
Is
the
that what
way
you're
you.
saying?
It was the way you said it. I'll give
Okay,
you that.
so these are facts, as the kids would say. Chicago has 4 wins. You realize their 4 wins are against 4 opponents who have 4 wins combined. 1 win Tennessee, 1 win the Rams, 1 win Carolina, 1 win Jacksonville. While the Cardinals' 4 losses are against 4 opponents that have 16 wins combined. Buffalo, Detroit, Washington, and Green Bay, all 4-win teams.
So you're saying it's been a tough
So I'm saying,
schedule.
look, are we factoring this in? Are we hitting zoom out and looking at a 17-game season and realizing you're only a third of the way through?
More frustrating than just having the L in the column is how the Cardinals have lost and how inconsistent they've looked. This is a team that we've seen rolling in all 3 phases. They looked good in their loss to Buffalo week 1. They looked great and dominating in their win over the Rams. And they dominated the 49ers and stayed in that game. And you had a second half shutout by the defense and special teams was on and the offense was rolling. So to not be able to consistently carry over what is working is what's most frustrating about those losses. The Cardinals haven't had back-to-back wins in 3 years. Now, the coaching staff has changed within that time. However, you need to find ways to be more consistent week to week in what is working while being able to still adjust in game to what isn't, which really coming off Green Bay is if the run's not there, you need to be able to rely on the pass, and they just weren't able to.
I mean, the Chargers' 3 wins, Darren, are against the Raiders, who are 2-4, Carolina, 1-5, and then Denver, which hadn't lost since week 2. But come on, they went against a rookie quarterback in Bo Nix. Bo Nix had more rushing yards going into the fourth quarter than he did passing yards, and he's not a running quarterback.
I mean, I think as you go into this game, if you're the Cardinals, I'm not going to say you should feel good because I don't want you to feel good. You had a poor performance in Green Bay. You should not be feeling good, but you shouldn't feel overwhelmed or unable to compete. And I do think, again, we're talking about a team that's coming to your place that in theory shouldn't have a bunch of its own fans in the building. It's not like the Chargers fans travel well. And hopefully with the Monday night atmosphere, that puts you in a better position, and you execute some of this stuff.
What do you think of when you think of Jim Harbaugh, considering the Cardinals, have
You want me to be serious?
No, go ahead.
The first thing that pops into my head, back in the day, they haven't done this for a long time, since the pandemic, but it used to be that for the media, the opposing coach would do a conference call every week.
Oh, yeah. They don't do that anymore.
No, they don't do that anymore. They used to have a player and the coach, then it became just the coach, and then that just went away. But one year, and again, you're talking to Harbaugh twice a year when you're the Cardinals and he's coaching the 49ers. And one year it was right around Thanksgiving. And I cannot remember what the question was or where he was going, but he's like started droning on about an answer. And he goes, and it's like Thanksgiving and your turkey, gobble, gobble, gobble. And it was just, I just always remember that. For all I know, Omo has the sound somewhere. That would be awesome. But
he used that in other platforms as well. That was his go-to around Thanksgiving. He enjoyed the gobble gobble. There's no doubt about it.
He's a different dude.
Yeah. By the way, did you hear his post-game comment after this last one where he had to leave the sideline?
Yeah.
Because he had to miss the start of the game. Just reading from the team story here, while being treated by the team's medical personnel for an irregular heartbeat. Then afterwards, he cited he had a similar episode in 2012 when he was with the 49ers, and he said, well, I'm 2-0 in arrhythmias. That was his post-game comment.
Okay.
So
the other thing, and it's not Harbaugh related, and that somehow that does not spread. That's a very different post-game press conference after an arrhythmia than J.J. Watt gave. I'm just going to say that.
It's true. Yeah, that's right.
But
oh man, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
no wonder I'm losing and stinking wise guy trivia. Darren remembers those things. I have no chance.
That was in Carolina, Paul.
Oh boy.
But anyways, it's been a decade since the Cardinals played the Chargers in Glendale on Monday Night Football. Do you remember that night?
I saw the little factoid that there was a flood that evening.
Yeah, there was so much rain that like I-10 flooded earlier in the day. Now, I think it had cleared up enough by the time we went out to the stadium.
Okay, all right.
But
it does sort of ring a bell.
It was like...
Doesn't mean you can put questions in a wise guy trivia about it, but it sort of rings a bell.
And again, I know people around here forget what rain is like. But yeah, one time it rains.
Well, we were reminded of that in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's true. Larry Foote made a big play at the end of the game.
We're also reminded of a Jim Harbaugh offense. Did you see where they had a 20-play drive against Denver? 20 plays, 76 yards for a 33-yard field goal. 20
plays for a field goal?
For a field goal, 10.5 minutes off the clock. I mean, he's redefining ball control offense in the run game. We know he loves to run the ball. He used to do it with Frank Gore in the division all the time. And, oh, by the way, the Chargers have the #1 scoring defense in the NFL.
Well, if the other team never has the ball.
That's true. And they did enter last week, allowing the fewest explosives as well with a new defensive coordinator in Jesse Minter. And here's what you have to be aware of if you're Kyler Murray in the Cardinals passing attack. Like Bo Nix said after the game, they do a really good job of keeping everything in front of them. Yes, it's one of those two high safety shell coverage teams, and then they let Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa get after the passer.
Chargers defense is top 4 in first and third downs allowed. They're also allowing only an average of 97 rushing yards per game. When you're a Cardinals offense that thrives off the run game and has to rely on the run game to get everything else going, that's a challenge. The Chargers offense, led by quarterback Justin Herbert, he's a pocket passer. He's not going to escape and use his legs. He's got power and accuracy. However, he's getting the ball out quickly. 60% of his passes last week came in under 2.5 seconds. So you're going to need tight coverage by this Cardinals defense, and you're also going to have to be able to stop the run because J.K. Dobbins, he might not be one of the biggest running backs. He might not be one of the most formidable, but he will force missed tackles. He will shake off defenders, and he has no problem running through the tackles. He's not just going to run out wide. He's going to run through you and really try and get through that line of scrimmage and get to the second level.
Would you be surprised if I said they have the fewest passing attempts in the NFL?
No.
When they have Justin Herbert?
No, because they have Jim Harbaugh. And everybody said, I remember at one point, people talking about don't take Justin Herbert in fantasy this year because now Jim Harbaugh is his coach.
And you knew that from the draft.
Yeah.
Taking tackle Joe Alt opposite of Rashawn Slater, you knew that was going to be the emphasis for this Chargers identity.
Yeah. By the way, they got both those tackles back from injury last week against Denver. So, and it's a painful reminder of the Paulie Pigskins who lost again in fantasy football. There I was in, I think, round 6 or 7, and I was debating between J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards as my running back because I knew Harbaugh was going to run the ball.
Gus Edwards is hurt.
Of course, I went with Gus Edwards, and I left J.K. Dobbins on the board, and he's had like a Pro Bowl
if it makes you feel better, Paul,
Probably won't.
you were 10-3 last week in the picks.
Okay. You know what's frustrating
there we
is I
go.
was also 10-3. And
But I was 11-2. Look at that.
I'm still 5 games back from the two of you.
Wow.
So we're tied again, Paul.
That redefines
You know
self-serving.
what? All it takes is 1 week.
You know.
Paul, the key. Did you even do your key last week? Did you forget?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Is that why
I
the Cardinals
think
lost?
I do
The football
think you
gods were
forgot.
angry
'Cause
that
I
they
didn't have
didn't
my-
know your key
my-
to
my
the
key
game.
to the
No
game.
football gods.
Well, this week, the key to the game, okay, is going to be something else from Calvisi Consulting that we've innovated. And it's going to be a couple of hot takes. I mean, so scorching hot that we had to go get an oven mitt, okay? So we've got an oven mitt here because we're just to emphasize that we're going to have a few hot takes. They're going to be scalding. You don't want to touch them with your bare hand, okay?
Wait. Explain what you just brought out for
Are
the
you-
listeners not watching the
Well,
video.
it's an oven mitt for the hot take I'm
you
about to throw
Not
out
just
there.
an oven
Expensing
mitt.
this?
I'm just,
It's an oven mitt that you
well-
have attached a Cardinals bird head
Oh, no,
on.
I think it came like that.
Well, the expense
That's straight from Fanatics.
they denied my $5.95 for so I said, you know what? I went down to the kitchen and Taylor hooked me up with an oven mitt, and so boom,
Oh,
here I am.
that is beautiful.
You
know,
stole
I-
that from
I-
the kitchen?
I-
Actually, that
personally-
oven mitt, the way that looks like, you look like you could hold molten lava in that, and you'd be okay.
Why is there a binder
Well,
clip on
the,
it?
the kitchen staff said that this is the ugliest oven mitt they had, and it was expendable, so they gave it to me.
Ooh,
So-
beautiful.
So,
Did you put the Cardinals
Thanks,
bird head on
Taylor.
it yourself?
I mean, are people into fashionable oven mitts? I mean, do you really pick out an oven
Yes.
mitt based on how it looks?
Yes. Did
Really?
you put the Cardinals bird head on yourself?
Of course I did. Yes, and the binder clip was in case the adhesive doesn't work, so I have the binder clip here.
I don't care.
Doesn't
I
matter.
don't care about fashionable
Yeah.
oven mitts. That's just Dani.
Here we go. Hot take number 1. I'm going to make Mac Wilson Sr. a permanent outside linebacker. You're trying to get to the quarterback.
I don't find that as a hot take.
I'm just
What-
I'm just Paulie personnel.
It's like
I'm gonna
81
move 'em.
degrees.
I'm going to move him
It's-
outside.
Even if you don't have linebacker Kaiser White and you have Chris Barnes there, you would still keep Wilson out wide as opposed to keeping him in a little more.
Even if you, and this is where it gets a little hotter, even if you need to move Zaven Collins back inside off the ball,
Okay, that just went to 95 degrees at least.
I would experiment with Mac Wilson Sr. off the edge permanently. Okay, that's what I would do.
Okay.
Now, speaking of the edge, okay, and trying to get to the quarterback,
I'm enjoying this part of the broadcast.
because for my money, thanks for asking, if there's one improvement that this team can make, it's getting to the quarterback, right? What was the money analytic going into the Green Bay game? Oh, refresh your memory. The analytics said that Jordan Love, when under pressure, had the lowest passer rating in the NFL, 23. Obviously, he wasn't under enough pressure, or you might have encountered a different quarterback. So with that in mind, we're already seeing trade winds blowing across the NFL, are we not?
Oh boy.
Devontae Adams going to the Jets. Amari Cooper going to the Bills. Stop right there, because yesterday on my way in, I happened to hear an ESPN radio discussion. This is national radio, and they were talking about the situation in Cleveland and players that might be available.
Oh, do not say this. Do not say
My goodness,
this.
Paul.
Do
Go to your
not
next
say
hot
this.
take. Skip it.
You cannot be serious.
Skip it.
I'm going full John McEnroe.
I don't know who you guys are talking about. I'm talking about Myles Garrett.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were talking
Unbelievable.
about.
Oh, I thought you guys were talking about like the quarterback.
No, no,
Why,
no,
why,
no,
why
no.
is Myles Garrett such a...
And what would you have to give up?
Everything.
You'd have to give up...
It'd be the Thanos meme. Everything.
Would you give up your first-round pick for Myles Garrett?
Yes.
What's his contract situation?
Aha! I'm glad you asked, because we just looked. He's due 19 this year and no guaranteed money, according to the website I consulted, going forward.
Okay, but would that lead to a hold-in?
And according to this ESPN radio discussion, right, they're like, okay, that's how Myles Garrett might be available. because he's going to want a massive new deal. And where is Cleveland? And if Cleveland is now hitting the reset button, is he in their future? He just turned 20. He turns 29 in December. So the reigning NFL Defensive Player of the Year. And the other reason I bring this up, okay, it's not really such a stinking hot take. Now, is it? I mean, come on.
Oh, you lost your bird.
Because oh, there it is.
Son of a biscuit.
Adhesive issues. Did I not bring up at the end of camp, right? And, people are like, oh, geez, where's the edge rusher? What you make it? Well, okay, maybe it's wait and see. You wait and see who's available. This time a year ago, who was available for the Bears? Montez Sweat.
True.
Worked out pretty well for the Bears, did it not? Who might be available this time around? Now, there's a lot of chatter out of the Raiders that Max Crosby. I'm not buying that at all. That's he's 27.
Well, now that Tom Brady's one of the owners, he's not letting that happen.
Yeah, Tom Brady will patch that up and smooth that over so he won't be shoving his defensive assistant coaches anymore on the sideline.
Wait.
Crosby.
Max Crosby said Mike Caldwell, former Cardinal assistant, is his guy. That was a love tap.
Okay, you know what that is? That's Max Crosby's hot take. That's what that is.
Paul? Yeah. I will give it to you. I will go in on that. If you can find a way to make it work and you can get Myles Garrett here, the Cardinals can absolutely use help on the pass rush. They're having to blitz. That seems to be the only way they're generating consistent pass rush. Against the Packers, 6 of the 11 times they blitzed, according to Next Gen Stats, resulted in an incomplete. Now, some of those, Jordan Love had really nice throws and he was off balance or on his back foot and he was able to make throws. You can only do so much when you've got a quarterback like that. The Cardinals are still blitzing only 30 times so far this year, which is lowest in the league. They've got the fewest.
Is that true? 30 times in 6 games, 5 times per game.
That is what Pro Football Reference has. The Cardinals have 30 times they've brought a blitz on the quarterback. They've got the fewest amount of hurries. They're struggling to get consistent pass rush in a way that is going to disrupt the quarterback. In your hypothetical world with your Cardinals oven mitt, if it works to where you can find a trade that would work to bring Myles Garrett, I wouldn't be opposed.
Would you be willing to get a player of that caliber to let 100 raccoons come to your house?
Ooh.
Well, 2 days ago, we had a rattlesnake on the driveway.
Whoa,
so there was
what?
that. Yeah, 2 days ago,
You're
rattlesnake on the driveway.
Now?
Well, yeah.
How does that work?
What do you do?
It's a somewhat common occurrence. Happens a couple times a year at least. So
wait, what do you do?
Well, I needed to get in my car.
Call it an Uber.
I needed to get into my car, which is on the driveway, and there's Mr. Rattlesnake. So we had a conversation. He moved because he knew, I mean,
we had a conversation
suffer the consequences.
You and the rattlesnake?
Me and the rattlesnake, yeah. So
I thought I was actually going to get useful information.
He did move, and then a neighbor walking their dog. I warned him, okay, don't get too close over here because and then they said call the fire department. No, we did that about 5-10 years ago. And
for the rattlesnake.
Do you know what the new policy is on the rattlesnake relocation?
Do you have to pay?
They go to the nearest open area and they just drop it.
Drop it.
So all they do is they go like half a block down the street, and then there's an open area. They just drop it right there. I mean, you're not achieving much. It's not like they go relocate it somewhere north of Winslow. I mean, it's not happening. So anyway.
Maybe Darren has a special spray like he does the scorpions that can ward off the rattlesnakes.
So Darren, I'll have my people call your people and we'll get a rate. You know what it would take for you to come over with.
I can understand that.
Darren Pest Control, a Cards Chatter Pest Control. That's, that'd be a great, side hustle for you. Another revenue stream to go along with your real estate portfolio and all those rent checks you get every month, the pest control.
I'm trying to figure out where that came from. I had a house. I got a bigger house. When my family got bigger, I got another bigger house.
No, I heard houses. I heard houses. I heard plural. I heard portfolio of houses. That's what I heard in there. So
not everybody can have an oven mitt, Paul.
That's right. So anyway, I just thought I'd bring that up and maybe we'll speak it into existence. And Cleveland right before the trade deadline, maybe they'll make a deal.
I'm a fan of the oven mitt though. That's got to be on the show.
Do you have to give that back, or is it yours to keep?
That's a good question. I'm gonna until I hear otherwise, it's mine.
That's right.
Until I receive an official.
Too bad you didn't get a
possession
a pair.
is 90/10
you only got one.
No, you only want one.
Until I get a notification otherwise. So
we don't want them looking like a hand model.
So I believe that's the only other hot take I had for now. But
you need to save them. We don't want all of them.
Chew on that going forward. So I think that's about it. Other than the trial balloon launched by the NFL, there's two things in the sky right now. There's a comet apparently out there. Have you actually taken the time to find the comet in the sky that's going on this week?
I didn't know there was a comet until this moment.
The other thing in the sky is the trial balloon launched by the NFL about possibly an international Super Bowl in the near future.
I love that.
Why not? What's the big deal? I mean, it's made for TV. Who cares where the game is? I mean, you're not, unless you're a local fan base, unless you're like the Detroit Lions and your entire existence has never resulted in a Super Bowl, and then the 1 year you go,
I get it,
and you have to travel to Munich.
That's a solid
I get it.
point.
The local fans would have a gripe. Otherwise, it's just, I mean, who's going to a Super Bowl?
Why, if it doesn't matter, then go have it in freaking Lincoln, Nebraska. Why do you got to have it in? I don't know,
Darren. You're growing the game. You're taking it international. You're growing the game.
Yeah, because all of those Europeans are going to be able to afford to go to the Super Bowl.
Or care enough.
Okay. It took a long time, but I finally triggered Darren. Okay. I finally, at the very end.
Nobody threw any of the penalty flags.
That's what we mentioned.
What was it called? The conference. What was the penalty?
Oh, uncomfortable conversations?
Oh, yes, that's right.
No, improper conversation.
Improper conversation.
Uncomfortable conversations, that's a whole different podcast.
Yeah, that's the one that's going to need a paywall. Improper conversation is something that will get you a flag. And I guess, you know what? It was good. No mental errors, no flags. There you go. That's this edition of Cardinals Underground, brought to you by Pacific Office Automation.